Another year of chaos at the Austrian GP with Carlos Sainz on fire, but not in a good way. Williams absolutely collapsing. Bortoleto surprising everyone. Ferrari is so back. Yuki Tsunoda playing bumper cars on the track, and McLaren dominating once again. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Austrian GP. What's up, guys? My name is Mars. Welcome back to the channel. Let's start in chronological order. Let's start with Bortoleto. Qualifying in P8. What a great achievement for the Brazilian. Qualifying right behind Max Verstappen and right ahead of Kimi Antonelli. Given the car that he's driving, a great performance by Bortoleto even throughout the race. Sauber did a little better this weekend. Good thing, because they were second and last on the constructors. And then right after the race starts, the chaos unraveled. We had a yellow flag before the race even started. Let's talk about it. Williams started this season really well. Very surprising for how bad they were doing last year, but recently they've been struggling. Let's keep in mind that Alex Albon could not finish the last 3 races, and Carlos Sainz's car caught on fire, like literally on fire, his brakes. The formation lap started, he couldn't get the car started. After he joins them, after like a minute, his brakes are on fire because he was stuck in first gear. I don't know what is going on at Williams, if they've just quit entirely on development and they're focusing on 2026, but this is very problematic because this is a team that really surprised us at the beginning of the year, and little by little, this car is just falling apart. It feels like we're watching Williams at the end of last season, and this is not what I want for Williams, because Williams is a team that I like. It's a great historical team, and recently they've been doing so much better with James Vowles at the lead, and they have a great driver lineup with Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz. So not a good weekend at all for Williams. I don't blame the drivers. Alex Albon was doing a really good job until he also had to DNF after Carlos Sainz. 0 points for Williams this weekend, but it wasn't only the car. The track conditions were pretty bad. It was really hot. We could see Fernando Alonso about to pass out before the race even started, asking for water. Not good at all. This happens a lot at the Austrian GP, also because of the time of the year that we're racing here. Let's not forget that in 2022, Carlos Sainz's car at Ferrari also caught on fire because of these issues. Then we got the very first lap of the race, and there's a lot to unpack here. Lando Norris, for the first time in a while, didn't bottle the first turn. Great job for Lando Norris. But in that successful attempt of blocking Charles Leclerc, he opened the way for Oscar Piastri to get right behind him. And if I had to pick one of the two to have behind me, I would rather have Charles Leclerc. That's the truth. Not because Charles Leclerc is a worse driver than Piastri, but because the Ferrari is not as good as the McLaren. Overall, as a team, this is very beneficial for McLaren, but they're competing with each other. We know how the papaya rules work, which we're going to break down later. So I don't know if it was the best outcome for Lando Norris, but later on, he managed to keep him behind and did a very good job. Very good weekend for Lando Norris. Lots of great racing between these two that we're about to break down later. But let's first talk about Kimi Antonelli and Max Verstappen, because Kimi Antonelli just took Max out. The good thing is that we didn't have much drama after that. We saw them walk away, talking, fine, no problem. Like I've said before, Max Verstappen is a much more mature driver now. If you remember the Max from 5 years ago, he probably would have lost it, especially since these points are so important to him and Red Bull, given the car that he's driving that is truly a tractor, and he's doing the best he can with that. But it was really good sportsmanship between both of them, seeing them walk away. Kimi Antonelli apologized right away, and Max was fine with it. Of course, this was the biggest gift he could have given to McLaren, because you have the two probably biggest competitors team-wise and driver-wise. I'm talking about Mercedes and Max, both being out of the race basically from the very beginning. We had a lot of good drivers DNF at the Austrian GP for many different reasons, but that's what made this race so chaotic. Let's focus a little more now on this McLaren battle that I was talking about earlier, because it was fierce. In contrast with the Canadian GP, this time we had Oscar Piastri trailing right behind Lando Norris. And even though he got really close and even passed him for a little bit, for a few seconds, it was really good how they did it this time without hitting each other. But here's the reality as to why Oscar Piastri wanted to pass Lando Norris so early on in the race. The Austrian GP is not a regular circuit. If you get stuck in second place behind your teammates, or really whoever is in first place, you get behind a lot of dirty air, and it's almost impossible to pass. And because they're teammates, they want to get the advantage of pitting first, and most likely teams usually pit first, the one in first place, to give the driver in second place that lead for a little bit, keep the pack behind for the first one, and drive in clean air. The problem with that is that you basically get a free undercut, and that's what Oscar Piastri was trying to get by passing Lando Norris. This, in my opinion, is what gave Lando Norris the win. Great race, great driving overall, but it was great driving by both of them. The fact that Lando Norris was in first place from the beginning gave him a huge advantage, and basically an undercut that gave him that advantage over Oscar Piastri, who was in dirty air the majority of the race. But overall, I have to say this, McLaren has the dream team. They have a driver who's great at quali like Lando Norris, who got much better at defending that position once he's in first place. And they got one of the best drivers on the grid, Oscar Piastri. So good, so cold, and so consistent. Every weekend, this man gets better lap after lap. This weekend, in my opinion, it really looked like Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri had a good talk with Andrea Stella and Zach Brown most likely, because there was really good racing, very entertaining for us fans, but clean. There was no crashes, no touching each other, very good papaya rules at work, how they should work. I complained about papaya rules in my previous video. Let me clarify that a little bit. I think strategically having two stars clashing with each other doesn't work, but as long as they're not clashing and crashing into each other and they're racing clean like we saw today, that's good. It works. Papaya rules works. They get more points and they get two competitive drivers. The only issue really that McLaren had this weekend were the mechanics, where the two at the front left of the kart made a few mistakes both with Lando Norris and then Oscar Piastri, but then they had an excellent pit stop later on, so they redeemed themselves. Talking about pit stops, we also got Ferrari, a team that a few years ago, it was known for bad pit stops. It was like a joke. Lots of improvement this year at the Austrian GP for Ferrari. They hit a 2.0 second pit stop, something we didn't see for Ferrari in previous years. I always joke about Ferrari because I'm a Ferrari fan. I can tell you all the bad stuff they do, but at the Austrian GP this year, I can say it for all the Ferrari fans, we are so back. We'll see how long this lasts though. Next up, we had a menace on the track. I'm talking about Yuki Tsunoda. After Max Verstappen retires, his teammate Yuki Tsunoda hits both Lance Stroll and Franco Colapinto. Yuki looked like he was playing bumper cars today. A driver that I truly like a lot, but you can tell that Red Bull second seat pressure is weighing on him quite a bit. Those mistakes that we saw Yuki do today are very common for a second driver at Red Bull. To be honest, it just sucks to be the Red Bull second driver. Red Bull can't seem to realize that the problem is not the driver, it's the car. And to be honest, if you look at numbers wise alone, they were much better with Checo in that seat than anyone else. If they had kept Checo at Red Bull, they would have still had a really good leader at Racing Bulls with Yuki Tsunoda, the veteran driver, and also have Isaac Hadjar there, who is one of the best rookies we've had this year. But once again, Red Bull bottled it. I don't know what's going on internally at Red Bull. Yes, teams come and go and they fall apart, but it's truly sad to see that happening, especially to a champion like Max Verstappen. Let's talk about Alpine, a team that struggled quite a bit with tire degradation and also with the drivers, because Franco Colapinto blocked Oscar Piastri as if he was racing him when Oscar Piastri was about to lap him, blocking him. Very bad move from the Argentine. He was trying to get behind clean air, and by doing that, he blocked Oscar Piastri. I'm only going to give Franco Colapinto a break here because he's a rookie and still has a lot to learn, but this is something you just don't do. Overall, to summarize this, we had a great weekend for Ferrari, but also very surprisingly for Sauber. We had Bortoleto start and finish in P8, right behind his manager, Fernando Alonso. Great weekend for Fernando Alonso too, who's been struggling to even score points that Aston Martin is just not responding anymore. But Fernando Alonso, El Padre, the veteran, managed to get that car to P7. Great performance by Fernando. Let's take a look at the driver standings and see how things change really quick. We still have Oscar Piastri in first place, 15 points ahead of Lando Norris. Lando Norris trying to close that gap to Oscar. I still think, and I've told you before, that Oscar Piastri will be the champion this year, but we'll see how this turns out to be. Max Verstappen, after DNFing at 155 points, that gap between him and the McLarens is starting to build and getting a little larger, getting a little harder to catch up. We still have a lot to go, but Max is definitely going to have a more uphill battle if he wants to be champion this year. George Russell almost catching up to Max Verstappen at 146 points. And then we got the two Ferraris, Charles Leclerc with 119 points, Lewis Hamilton with 91, and the big surprise this year, we have Kimi Antonelli with 63 points. Even though he has made rookie mistakes like he did today and DNF'd, a great season for a brand new driver in Formula 1, 63 points in 7th place ahead of all of these other veterans. Then we have Alex Albon in 8th place with 42 points, Esteban Ocon with 23 points in 9th place, and let's wrap it up in 10th place. We have Nico Hülkenberg moving up the ranks. A great weekend for him this weekend, 22 points in 10th place. Let's talk about the constructor standings because things have been changing lately. We have McLaren in first place with 417 points, almost double what Ferrari has, which is in second place. Ferrari back to second place, 210 points, just 1 point ahead of Mercedes, caused by Kimi Antonelli's DNF. Mercedes in third place with 209 points. A lot of that we have to credit to George Russell, who once again finished P5 at the Austrian GP. A driver that I always say he might not be the best, but he is the most consistent. You can count on George to give you a P5 or higher, and he did it once again. Then we have Red Bull in fourth place, struggling and trailing behind with 162 points. And then to wrap it up, let's talk about the fifth place. We have the Williams. Even though they had 2 DNFs, because they had such a great start of the season, they have 55 points. Overall, the Austrian GP was one of my favorite races we've had this season. Lots of action-packed. Yes, some bad news for some drivers or some teams, some good news for others. But as a fan, just watching the race was really entertaining. Good racing, especially between the two McLarens. A great weekend for us Ferrari fans, and a great weekend too for Sauber. To wrap this up, I want to see your opinions about this weekend down below in the comments. I'll be reading and answering as always, and I really want to thank you guys for all the good comments I get all the time. Trust me, I read you, I see your comments, and I can't be more thankful for the community that we're building here. As always, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate you. You can click right here to subscribe if you haven't yet, and you can watch the next video that I created just for you by clicking right here. Until next time, bye.